Happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome and thank you for jumping on. As always, we do appreciate your time learning the platform and learning how to market yourself better, put yourself out there. It means a lot to us that you're showing up to these every week. This week, I know you're probably all tired of hearing about me talk about marketing, but we're having another marketing session today. It's been a little while since we had a session and we're adding some new content. So this isn't even going to be specific to your value as an art of homeownership partner, but it's just going to be marketing yourself in general, because especially now that there's a lot happening in the market, rates are starting to fluctuate, it's going to be more important than ever that you're creating that presence for yourself on social media. So just as a mortgage professional in general, you should be putting yourself out there in some way. As always, I'm going to be pushing video content more than anything, just because that's by far the most effective way to be putting yourself out there. So we're going to go over some tips, because I realize that a lot of people are hesitant about getting started, don't know where to start. So we'll go over a few of the mindset pieces, how to get started, how to get comfortable behind video, and then repurposing content to make the most of your time. Because at the end of the day, as a mortgage professional and a loan originator, especially if you're a team lead, your time is not best used if you're in the weeds editing videos. You should really be delegating that out and getting someone who can do that for you. So we'll be going over, like I said, how to make the most of your time that you are spending creating this content. So let me share my screen. Okay, I'm going to assume that you can all see this. So this will be both the inspiration and the actual execution and creation of your social media content. So I want to go over first the mindset piece of it, because I think there are a lot of expectations that fall short because people have just the wrong expectation going into having a social media presence and marketing yourself. So the goal of marketing and being active on social media is not to generate leads. That will come, and you will generate and grow your business from having an online presence. But if you go into it with that mindset, you're going to be disappointed, because as you're posting content, if you create a really good video and you're expecting to get 3 leads and people reaching out to you, it's just not going to happen, because it takes a lot of time to build that trust with your audience, whether it's consumers or realtor partners that you're trying to partner with. It does take a lot of time to basically buy that space in their mind and be top of mind when, a mortgage or refinance comes to mind. So the goal of marketing is, like I said, to stay top of mind. So even if it is a conversation that they're having with a friend and they need a mortgage, ultimately you want to be that person that they think of. So staying in front of them consistently is going to be so important, because now more than ever, we're getting so much content on a daily basis. It takes a lot to have that space in someone's mind. So establishing yourself as a resource to both prospective clients and referral sources. And you do this by putting out valuable content around mortgages. So it's not putting out a post saying, just a reminder, I'm in mortgage. Your referral sources are seeing that on a daily basis. So you have to be differentiating yourself, putting out valuable content that gets their attention. How I like to think of that is creating hundreds or possibly thousands, depending on how many people you have in your audience, one-way friendships. So the way that you think about this is your social media is really just another place to show who you are, what you do, and why you're different. A lot of people overthink it and they try to get really tactical and use these really unique strategies. All it is putting yourself out there, what you like, why you're valuable, what you do. So when you do that, you start to attract the people that like the kind of person that you are. So if you're interested in certain things that they're interested in, they're going to create a connection with that. And it's basically like having a one-way friendship, because you might not know them or even know that they're watching your content or connecting with it, but they're connecting with you, which puts you top of mind for them. So like I said before, it's not to generate leads. That will come when you're creating an online presence and consistently putting out content, but don't go into it with that mindset, because you're going to be disappointed. And this is a little extreme, but again, you have to have this mindset going into it. If you're not telling people what you're doing, you're screwing them over. So if you decide that you don't want to have an online presence, even though you're connected with your whole network of people, your family, your friends, you're friends with them on social media, but you're not putting out content to tell what you do, why it's valuable, and any information around mortgage. Because I think a lot of people think that they're oversharing or they're being pushy when they're doing that. But if that person in your network decides to go to Rocket Mortgage when they need to refinance or they're buying a home, they're going to get unnecessary fees that are in there. They're going to pay more, they're going to get bad service, and they're not going to get long-term advice that you're offering. So that's a huge disservice to that person in your network because you decided you didn't want to put yourself out there and tell people what you do. So avoid that by making it known how valuable you are. And this is not a pushy process. It's simply telling people things that they need to know around real estate and finance and mortgage. If you're going about it the right way, it's not pushy at all. So I do realize that a lot of people are hesitant to get started. Like the objections that I talked about, you feel like you're oversharing or you're being pushy. A lot of people are just hesitant to get behind video because they don't feel comfortable. They're not used to it, which is totally normal. So this is like a few step process that I actually stole from another industry marketer, Kyle Draper, who's really great, puts out great content. This is kind of his equation to getting comfortable behind video and getting to the point where you're putting out longer form content. So start with incorporating videos into your mortgage process. So this is going to be one-on-one. You're just creating a video for one of your clients. Maybe it's walking them through the pre-approval, what everything means, or just explaining the mortgage process. There are so many different steps that you could be going in depth into and explaining further. So start with that. Maybe it's your goal is to send 3 or 4 videos to clients per week. And what that's going to do is, number one, it makes your process a lot more effective and makes your clients feel a lot more comfortable because you're sitting there talking to them. It's not just an email where things could get misconstrued or they don't understand everything in depth. So it's going to create a better process for your clients. And then it's going to also get you more comfortable behind a camera. So as you start to do that and record these videos, you'll get more comfortable. It will become more conversational. And that's really the ultimate goal. Even when you're putting out the longer form content, you don't need it to be really polished and remove any ums or stutters that you have in the videos. You just want it to sound like you're really talking specifically to one person. So that's also going to help a lot with getting you to that point. So after you become more comfortable with the one-on-one videos and sending them to your clients, then you can move to sharing on your Instagram or Facebook stories. I would recommend both just so that you're hitting as many people as possible in your network. But what this really does is, number one, it's less intimidating because stories only last for 24 hours. It's going to keep it more conversational. So since it's only going to be up there for 24 hours, it doesn't matter what it looks like. It really never matters what it looks like, but in our minds, I think we convince ourselves that it does. So a good example of this is if you're working with a client and it's a unique situation that probably a lot of other people have, or maybe could avoid working with you. So hop on your story after talking to that client. And obviously you're not giving away their personal information, but just talk about the scenario and how you're helping this unique situation, because someone else could connect with that, or it could resonate with them because they're in a similar situation. So hearing the real life stories about real estate and mortgage is going to really connect with people. So you could do borrower scenarios and stories. You could even just give mortgage tips. If the market is doing something crazy and you want to just give a market update, that's really effective. Slice of life content is also great. So what that means is more personal content that shows who you are, kind of a day in the life of you. And you might think that that's boring and people are interested in it, but they really are. We're just interested in kind of people's everyday lives and what they're doing. So that is going to be the next step of becoming more comfortable. And as you are doing that, again, set a goal for yourself. Maybe you hit like 1 story per day that you are putting up, or 3 if that's a little too intimidating. So get comfortable behind the camera. I think Kyle had mentioned that each of these is about a 2-week process. So if you do get to the point where you feel comfortable, in the second stage after a few days, great, then move on to the next one, which would be shorter clips that you're posting on your profile. So those are going to stay there forever. And that could be, if you're active with Instagram Reels, that's a really effective way to get more exposure. They're being showed to a lot more people than just your regular posts, because that's only being showed to your network. So you could get started with Instagram Reels, TikToks. If you're not comfortable with those, that's totally fine. Just short clips with mortgage content is great. So pick a topic that you can pack into maybe a minute long and talk and go in depth into that topic. It can be something that's a little shorter, so narrow down exactly what you're talking about and keep it really focused. You want to get their attention, unpack the topic, and then give them some sort of call to action. That could be something as casual as reach out to me if you want a free consultation or just want to know what this situation looks like for you. It doesn't have to be reach out to me for a mortgage, because really at the end of the day, you're going to be advising the situation regardless of what they think they need. So make it as the least intimidating that you can, so that they don't feel like if they meet with you, they're obligated to, get a mortgage with you or refinance. So once you're comfortable in that step, which if you're worried about the execution of that and don't really know how to get started, you can always reach out to me, but that can be something as simple as just recording a Zoom meeting by yourself. It doesn't have to be really elaborate or professional. You can even just use your phone. I mean, we always say, as marketing yourself, the only thing that you need is a cell phone. Your content, as long as it's valuable, you're staying in front of your audience, that's going to be effective. The final step, and this is going to take some time to get into, but really the best place you want to be is creating long form content. So maybe it's a 5-minute video on a mortgage topic that can ultimately live on YouTube. And then it's much easier to repurpose those longer form videos, because you can cut them up into a few different pieces of content for social media. You can create quote graphics. There's just a lot that you can do with a 5-minute video that you probably don't even realize. So go through those steps in order to feel more comfortable behind a camera and be putting out valuable content. So getting started with social media, I think a lot of people don't know where to get the content inspiration or what to even talk about. And your current clients are really low-hanging fruit for getting those content topics. So you're probably hearing the same questions about mortgage and real estate in the market every single day. So talking about those frequently asked questions, it's going to be answering the same question for a lot of people in your network that just aren't reaching out to ask you. So when you do that and consistently answer their questions, if they're not even reaching out to you to ask, then you're just positioning yourself as that resource and that person that you know what you're talking about, you're answering their questions, you almost know what they're thinking, and that's going to make them feel a lot more comfortable to reach out to you because they know that you're a resource. What you could do to make this easier, if you're not, if you hear a question and you're not ready to record a video about it right away, you can keep something called a swipe file. So what I recommend is just a Google Doc, or if you're a little old school like me, keep a piece of paper and a pen. And just when you get questions from a client that's maybe you haven't even heard someone ask that before, start out the video like that. So write down these questions that you're getting consistently. And when you start to see a trend, then it's time to record a video about that content topic. Even if it's voice memos in your phone, whatever works best for you to keep a swipe file of frequently asked questions from your current clients. And then, well, this is just how to use. So after every meeting with a prospect or client, take a minute, jot down the questions that they had. And then when you see the themes, create an evergreen piece of content. So that's something that, if it's about just the mortgage process in general, that's something that you can use for so long. So as you're building up this repository of content, it's just going to kind of validate who you are, what you do, and your value. It's going to make you a lot more knowledgeable. So those can be kept, they can be sent via BombBomb. I strongly recommend having some sort of YouTube presence. So as you're creating those longer form pieces of content, you can share them on YouTube and then repurpose that, whether it's sharing the link, the YouTube link to, maybe current clients that are having those questions. Just say, watch this video, and if you have questions afterwards, I'm happy to jump on a call. That's going to really save you a lot of time and make them feel a lot more comfortable. Ceci, if there are any questions, can you just give me a shout, because I can't see the chat. This is kind of the same concept, but answerthepublic.com is a great resource for looking at content topics. So it's the same idea as the frequently asked questions, but this is going to be what people are searching all across the internet. So if you go to Answer the Public, I'll show you an example in just maybe on the next slide here. So if your clients aren't asking all of the questions, so maybe you want to get into the veteran niche or audience. So if you want to attract those people, start putting out content that's meant for them. So you could go on to answerthepublic.com, type in VA loans, and all of the questions being asked frequently across the internet will come up in like a web form. So you can look at all the different questions, whether it's how to, why, what are VA loans. It will give you all the questions that people are asking. That is an excellent place to find inspiration for your content. So you can search for loan types, just general real estate or mortgage terms, anything that you can think of about the process. So this is what I typed in appraisals in answerthepublic.com. And then this is just a really brief snippet of what comes up. So it will give you a lot more than this. So you can take any of these. Are appraisals required by law? Are they confidential? Take these topics and you can record probably a 30-second video. It's even better if it's in a reel form. That is such an easy way to get something to record content about. So I strongly recommend using this website. It's really helpful, especially if you're newer to the industry and you don't have a lot of clients that you've worked with. You don't know what questions people are asking. They're just basically handing you content topics here. Another place to get content is to steal it. I know that this is not what our parents told us growing up, but look for the people in whether it's in your market or not, if it's just in the industry and they're doing really great things on social media and you want to mimic that content, look at what they're doing and their posts that are performing really well and copy the content topics. So it doesn't have to be, mirrored piece of content that they're creating, but if someone records a piece of content about the current market and what it's doing, and they're getting really good engagement on that piece of content, it's very likely that if you use the same topic, that you're also going to get great content or great engagement on that piece of content. So there is a systematized way to monitor the people in your network or the people that are doing really well. And I'll show you that in just a second, but don't be afraid to just look at the people that are doing really well and take their ideas, because they're likely not even going to know that you're stealing from them. It's just the nature of the industry and what everyone is doing. So, and also put it into your own style. So if someone's doing something that, a lot of people are on Reels kind of doing the more fun, goofy content, if that's not you, then just take the content topic and put it into your own style. You don't have to try to be someone else just because they're getting good engagement on it. Be yourself and be authentic with it, but just kind of take the general idea of what they're doing. So if you go to your Facebook business page, now this has to be a page and not your personal profile, but you can go to, and I'll send out this slide deck afterwards if you'd like these step-by-steps. If you go to Insights and scroll to the bottom, you can actually watch certain Facebook pages. So let's just say for this example, please do not do this, but let's say you wanted to watch Rocket Mortgage and what they're doing on Facebook. You can watch this page and see the engagement. I think you can watch up to 5 different pages. So on a weekly basis, it will give you the engagement that they're getting. I think how many followers they've gotten. So if you look at the page that got the best engagement, go to that page and look at their best performing piece of content that they posted that week. And you can easily take that and steal it. So it's a very systematized way. It's a lot more efficient than just scrolling through social media looking for good pieces of content. This is a really actionable way to watch those pages, see who's getting really good engagement, and then mimic the content that they're putting out. Repurposing content topics. So this is what I was talking about. The place that you want to get to is really making a 5 or 6 minute video that you host on YouTube, and then taking that and turning it into different content pieces. So if you have one piece of long form content, so let's say it's 5 minutes long, this could be you talking about a specific topic that you're really knowledgeable on within the mortgage space. It could even be an interview with maybe a realtor partner that you do, and it's kind of just a conversation. So at 5 minutes long, there should be 3 to 4 what we call golden nuggets of content in that video. So what you can do is splice up, not you yourself. I would recommend delegating this to someone, whether it's Upwork or, bringing someone on part-time, but you can easily cut up that video and create, I would say 3 to 4 at minimum, small pieces of content that you can be posting on social media. So those could be really impactful pieces of the interview or things you said that really kind of sum up everything that you're talking about in that video. And you can do a number of things. You could just post it and have it as the piece of content, or you could use that to drive to the longer piece of content that's maybe hosted on YouTube. So if you post that 30-second long video, say, if this interests you or it's a topic you want to learn more about, I recorded a full-length 5-minute long video. You can check it out on YouTube here. So great way to not only put content out on social media, but then ultimately drive back and get more engagement and traction on your YouTube channel as well. And then when you're looking at those shorter pieces of content, there's likely even more impactful quotes throughout that interview or that piece of content that you can create graphics. So when you're turning the same piece of content or the same quote or small clip into different content types, it's not redundant, because we have to see things so many times for it to really resonate and understand. And it's going to appeal to different people. So maybe some people are more visual. They like to read a quote or see a graph to really intake the information. Other people could like to listen to people and see them talking on a screen. So you're really just hitting the different audiences and the different ways that people like to intake information. So don't ever feel like you're being annoying or redundant when you're talking about the same topic, because you really do have to say it so many times for it to hit home. And if you really want to tackle your marketing, the full video can easily be turned into a blog post, which could also drive back to the full length video. So this is something we do on the Art of Homeownership side of things. So if you check out our website, you can see our blogs. And what we do is we take the longer interviews that we do, we take that topic and we just break it down into the main points in that long form video. So what we even do is to the point where, let's just say there's 5 main points that were talked about in the video. We hit on those points and then tell them the exact timestamp of where they can find that answer. So it is typed out and it's in blog form. So it could be hitting different people, but it's ultimately driving them back to actually watch that YouTube video in order to get the content. And then a blog could serve as its own social media post. Again, you're just creating the same piece of content, but in a few different ways, depending on how people really intake their information. So ultimately, from that 5-minute video, you're getting at least 10 pieces of content for social media. So I think so many people are hesitant to start because they think that it's so time consuming. But if you batch your content, how you're recording it, and let's just say you take 30 minutes where you know exactly what topics you're going to record on, you take 30 minutes and can probably produce 5 videos. And that's going to give you content for months. I mean, it's not a time-consuming thing once you really get it down. So I want to emphasize that it does take practice and consistency in order to get into the swing of things, get comfortable behind video. You will become more efficient as you go. So I know that was a lot and I was fly through this because I'm a marketing nerd, but I would like to open it up for Q&A. Really anything, whether it's sharing your art of home ownership value on social media or just how to get started on social media marketing in general, please ask away because I get tired of hearing myself talk. So raise your hand, preferably, so we can hear the questions that you have. Does anyone have anything or any successes that you've had on social media too? If you've really done something that drove a lot of engagement and you've been seeing results from, please feel free to share with the group. Ryan Morrow, I'm kind of going to pick on you here because I know you've been recording some content. If you wouldn't mind sharing your experience and like batching content to share, is there anything that you would like to touch on or share with the group? I'm going to bring you in to talk if you don't mind.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me okay?
Hi, Ryan. Yes.
Can't figure out really what mic I'm on, so bear with me.
Okay.
I think I figured it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to at the moment film what we can and then take. I've got a guy that's basically taking that to repurpose first and foremost to YouTube, and then to kind of take and chunk out so that we'll have kind of a whole library full of various content that we can take and repurpose for things like Reels and Instagram. I haven't really done the TikTok thing. I told him if he wants to open an account, go for it, but I don't really ever want to get on there.
Yeah.
So, but what I've been doing that works good for me for topics at the very least is, I think you mentioned it, is I just kind of keep track of anything that a client asked during the week, anything that I get a phone call on, anything that I think is somewhat interesting. And then I go, okay, how long would that be? Would that be a 15-minute video? Is that a 3-minute quick video? And if it's 3 minutes, it's fine. I just record it. What I did for the guy that's helping me is I just set up a rule where I film it on Zoom for right now. And I don't know if that's the right platform or not, but I open up a Zoom, just like I'm going to have a meeting with you. It's just me, and I shoot the video. All the ums and ahs and all that stuff are in there. And then on one screen, I have my notes. And so I can kind of quickly glance over at those notes. And so he knows when he's playing it back that he can actually take those sections where I'm kind of glancing over, and that's his opportunity to implement B-roll. So that's not showing that I'm kind of glancing over or reading a note. And then what I did is, as soon as that Zoom call is finished, it dumps into a OneDrive account. He has access to it. So it kind of lets him know like, hey, there's a new video in here, and then he can jump in and do it. What I'm trying to work out, and when we get it fine-tuned, I can share it with the group, is how to storyboard all that, because the guy that I'm doing this with is not a mortgage guy. So he's kind of just following along. Like, it's the first time he's ever heard this content. So he's going, okay, well, what are you talking about here? Like, he's trying to kind of follow along a little bit without having that knowledge. So we found that it would be helpful to at least have a small storyboard for him that he can use to kind of follow along, and then just know where to pull various slides. If there is any slides, or if he needs to hunt them down, he knows where to kind of find those. So it's been working so far. I'm not I get in the weeds if I'm going to go and cut them up myself and try to repost them. It's too much. Like, I'm too critical, and I really don't know the platforms. Like Nathan, for example, did one a couple of times, and his posts look great, those Facebook Reels. I don't know what tool he's using to kind of, he's switching from like his personal self to kind of some content that he's sharing from video. It'd be really cool to share that with the group if you know how he's doing that, but I thought that turned out really well.
Yeah, he does a good job, and I'm not sure what he uses to edit those, but he likes to get in the weeds and edit himself.
Right.
But how did you find someone to edit that content? Is that someone that you hired from Upwork, or is it someone that you just knew? Like, how are you delegating that out?
Yeah, actually, I was I'll keep the story really quick, but it's a client of mine and a friend that we helped with a home purchase, and we went to lunch just to kind of celebrate. And then just through that, we're talking about mortgage, and he goes, "When are you going to have a YouTube channel?" And I'm like, "Well, as soon as somebody makes one for me, I'm not that guy." And he goes, "That's what I do, right?" I'm like, I had no idea. And so I guess what he does is he works with a bunch of attorneys and CPAs, and his firm they have them film all the educational content and things like that, and then his firm is the one that chops it up, puts music to it, does all the stuff, and then puts that content out. It's not really for YouTube, but he has knowledge of YouTube, so he's like, "Look, that's super easy for me to do. If you don't mind me doing it, I'll get it knocked out for you." We're considering kind of another channel for him as an opportunity to help other loan officers as well with the same thing, but we're just kind of beta testing it, making sure that it looks okay right now. But yeah, it's super cool. I haven't tried Upwork, but I've heard that there's some good opportunity in there as well.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just not, as mortgage professionals, it's not worth your time. I mean, I even told Nathan that because he's been editing his own content. But I would strongly recommend find someone, even if it's, shared with a few people on your team, if you have someone that you can delegate that out to. It's just not worth your time to be in the weeds. And I find that mortgage professionals get frustrated and discouraged. So you're less likely to be recording the content to even put out if you have to sit there and edit. So that's great, Ryan, that you found someone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's really good awareness, because honestly, if I'm filming it and then I go to cut it up and I go to edit and all that stuff, like I would probably spend the entire day on it.
Yeah.
Where this guy's got like 30 minutes into it and he's done,
Yeah.
and it's probably turning out better, or he has better ideas and he's giving me feedback too. He's like, "Hey, everything looks good here. I need you to move the mic up a little hotter, or can you reposition the camera just a little different, or can you play with the lighting a little bit?" I'm like, "Oh, great." So he's been able to give feedback like on what he wants to see on his side. So slowly we're kind of fine tuning it. But I figured even in the raw stage, if we have stuff that's out there and it looks a little dated, like even if it looks like it's shot in the 80s with a potato camera, that's fine. And then eventually it'll start to kind of develop itself over time. So really my idea is like this time next year, hopefully we'll have like some really cool looking video. And actually, I kind of think the engagement's stronger on like the raw stuff that's not overproduced, because it's a little bit more real. It kind of feels like you're just having a quick conversation with somebody.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because that's spot on. And that's what I try to tell people, because I think we can be overly critical if we record content. We think that it doesn't look good enough or we sound stupid in the video. At the end of the day, no one really cares. You think that everyone cares more than they do. I was actually talking to Kyle Draper yesterday, and he's like, the worst scenario that you can think of in your head, like none of us are cool enough for that to happen. Like no one's going to start a hashtag that's like Val looks stupid in her video. Like no one cares about us enough to do that. So all the things that you're making up in your head are probably irrelevant and not going to happen. So I can't emphasize enough to just take action with it, even if it doesn't look perfect, like Ryan's saying. That's great.
Yeah. One quick thing too, like if you're trying to get started in this kind of platform, and I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but do like, whatever it is, bomb or whatever kind of platform you want to use, and then send videos out with like a tutorial or a walkthrough for the process for your agents or for your client, or
Yeah.
if it's as simple as walking through an LE with somebody, like start really small and then build from there, because those little small ones, you'll start to pick up on. Well, you build confidence because the client will come back to you and go, "Oh my God, that was super helpful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the video. We watched it 15 times." Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was terrible," but they're
Yeah.
watching it all the time. And, I think that's a confidence booster.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Cool. Well, thanks for letting me pick on you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions to get started? Anything that you're kind of struggling with to take action with social media, video content, anything? All right. If there are no questions, you can always feel free to reach out to me if you do have questions, or post in the Facebook group. We're always there to help. But thank you all for tuning in today. Appreciate you listening to me nerd out on marketing, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.